So in today's clip, I'd like to address whether it's better or easier to get to fire alone or with a like-minded individual, partner, husband, wife, whatever way you want to call it. Ayo, Senpak here. So a few days ago, I read an interesting post on the Fire Facebook group where some dude was basically saying he can't imagine getting to fire with his wife because she's too emotional and often uses financial assets as leverage to threaten him. Wow, that was quite loaded. I mean, I read it and mainly thought this dude needs a divorce. I mean, if he's outright questioning his wife's ability to talk about finances rationally. But this post did make me want to address a much broader issue, which is, do we need a partner on our fire journey? Is that helpful or wanted? Well, let's review, right? Here's definitely a few common scenarios. Scenario 1, me personally, I got to fire on my own, okay? Because I am terrible at dating and flirting and small talk. That should be no surprise, as you guys can see this funny looking mug. I mean, good thing I'm over that at this point and can own up to it now. I mean, there are some advantages to going at it alone, okay? Mainly, it's that I don't have to answer to anyone, right? No priorities can supersede what I have set for myself, right? The main issue on any fire journey is really about the compromise between short and longer term goals, right? So when one doesn't have a partner, at least I don't have to justify to anyone but myself what it is that I find most valuable and worth spending money on, or whether that's luxuries or investments, right? To me, these are very subjective and personal decisions, which is, what each of us really defines as our wants or needs, right? It's simpler with just a single decider, calling all the shots. Now, of course, it's not all roses when one's single and trying to get towards fire, okay? One key thing that most single people forget about that can be well covered by my personal experience again, and that is most people are still looking for a partner, right? And dating in and of itself is expensive, especially compared to having a long-term partner. Now, some of you might say, hey, it's just as costly to have a partner, like a wife or a husband, right? But I guarantee you it was more expensive when people are first getting to know each other. It's just plain old human nature, right? To want to put forth the strongest of first impressions, first, right? Okay, scenario 2. You're with a partner, but you guys aren't on the same page. I imagine this is actually pretty common, right? Per the face group post I initially mentioned, or the fact that the most common, it's like the number one reason for disagreements amongst couples is, of course, it's about money, right? I mean, unless you are the Lannister twins, right? Most couples do not grow up in the same exact identical household circumstances, right? And that would lead to a different spending habit and tendencies, right? This is especially more of a problem if money is not abundant in any particular household. Right? Again, the combination of being different from each other and the fact that most households aren't exactly flush with cash most of the time means that the how of spending a family's resources will almost always be a sticking point between couples. This is doubly true if a family unit is actually trying to get to fire, right? Because both regular life, living with some other person who is not yourself, and also trying to get to a stage of financial independence earlier than the assumed age of late 60s to the 70s, they both require sacrifice and compromise, right? You put these elements together and things can get exponentially, multiplicatively more complicated, right? I guess that's why the guy in the Facebook post was complaining on a fire group, right? At least the members like me can empathize with how hard it is, trying to get to fire already, right? Without having the whole disagreeing with your spouse thing on top of it. Then, of course, scenario number 3 is really the ideal scenario, right? That's where I'm at right now, which is just, has to do with picking a partner carefully enough, early on enough, that you at least agree generally what's worth buying for both short and long term. I mean, I feel incredibly lucky to have met my wife, who was already well on her way to her own fire number when we met, okay? Heck, we even talked about money and net worth on like week 1 of us really getting to know each other. The lack of, talking about money a taboo subject was really, really helpful. Now, I'm not saying that somehow I understand absolutely every purchasing decision she makes. Of course, she is a separate person from me, after all, right? We did grow up in different households with different spending tendencies and routines still, right? But let me give you a quick example on how I determine that we treat money decisions similarly, okay? My wife loves grilling. I love video games. She wanted a balcony-friendly grill, and I wanted a Nintendo Switch. These are slightly separate time frames. I'm not talking about them in the same exact month or year or whatever, right? The reason I bring it up is that both of us considered our respective decisions for longer than a year before we finally sprang for our respective items, right? In the context of the modern American consumerist culture, I think this parallel behavior illustrates our similarity. Because both items share some similarities. They're both around $300, right? And at the time, when we're considering these purchases, we were certainly already in the top 5% in terms of income in the USA, okay? So by all external measures, we can easily afford these items. They're not consumable items, and they are, non-perishables that should last for, 3 to 5 years at the least, right? But what this tells me about my wife, and I hope, me talking about my, desire for a Nintendo Switch also illustrated to her how I am like, right? It's an ability to delay impulse purchasing, right? And this ability to delay satisfaction tells me that we're much less likely to have major disagreements about money, okay? If she thinks this hard about a $300 purchase, she thinks more than a year about a $300 purchase, I don't think I'm really going to need to worry about whether she's going to go blow her paycheck on designer shoes, right? It just doesn't work that way. Yeah, so at the end of the day, even though I got to fire on my own, now that I have a partner in crime who's very much my equal, I could have only wished that I met her even sooner, right? Oh well, my time machine's been in the shop lately, so I'll just have to make do with the rest of my life with this one. So, I guess I haven't answered the question, right? How important is it to have the right partner? Honestly, I'd say there's literally not a single more important investment anyone can make in their entire lives than the right person to be with who share your actual vision about like where you want to be, right? If it's fire, great. If both of you want to blow your paycheck every month, that's fine too, as long as you agree with each other, right? Because a bad partner will literally break your world, okay? Divorce doesn't come cheap, okay? Whereas a great partner can be a massive force multiplier. Now, I have no advice on how to find that perfect partner because I just got to my wifey by sheer pure luck. But hey, gotta keep some mystery in life, right? Anyway, if you liked or disagreed with whatever drivel I just coughed off, please feel free to like and subscribe and all that jazz. And obviously, check out some of my other clips on the corners above. Cheers.